All right. Thank you all for joining. Oh, is that on? Is that working? Is it working now? Oh, there we go. All right, thanks, Heather. All right, thank you all for joining us. We're going to call to order the Reno City Planning Commission meeting of Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. Commissioner Sylvia, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, thank you. Heather, can we do roll call, please?
J.D. Draculich.
Here.
Peter Gower is absent. Mark Johnson.
Here.
Arthur Munoz.
Here.
Sylvia Villanueva.
Here.
Alex Felto is absent. You do have a quorum.
Thank you, Heather. Moving on to item number 3, public comment.
It should be noted for those in the audience that comments are to be addressed to the Planning Commission as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Planning Commission agenda. Please note that the Planning Commission may not take action upon any matter not agendized for possible action on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand. Lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there is disruptive behavior, and you will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. And with that, we did receive correspondence that was general in nature and not related to anything on the agenda tonight. It was all distributed to the commission before the meeting. We did not receive any voicemails, and I don't have any requests to speak forms.
Okay, thank you. Anybody in this room want to speak at this time? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 4, approval of minutes for possible action. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. Let's go to item 4.1, which is Reno City Planning Commissioner regular meeting August 3rd.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, I'll move to approve the minutes from Wednesday, August 3rd.
Commissioner Villanueva, I'll second.
Commissioner Munoz, I need to abstain from the August 3rd.
Okay, Heather? All in favor of approval of minutes? Looks like we have 3 here. That's going to fly.
Aye.
Aye. All right, item 4.2, Reno City Planning Commission regular meeting, August 17th.
Commissioner Munoz, I move to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Johnson, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, item 4.3, Reno City Planning Commission regular meeting, September 7th.
Commissioner Johnson, move to approve the meeting minutes from September 7th.
Commissioner Munoz, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, minutes approved. All right, moving on to item number 5, public hearings. Item 5.1, staff report for possible action, recommendation to City Council, case number LDC 22-00048, DP2 Master Plan and Zoning Amendment. A request has been made for a zoning map amendment from unincorporated transition 5 acres, UT5, to single family, 8 dwelling units per acre, SF8. The 8.05 acre site is located 1,000 feet of the intersection of Claim Jumper Way and Tellurium Mine Drive. Looks like we'll have a presentation from the applicant, or no? Straight to the city. Thanks, Brooke.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Brooke Oswald. I'm Associate Planner with Development Services. And case before you today is that LDC 22-00048. This was a master plan amendment and zoning map amendment. You have seen this item similar before, and I'll just run through it and then kind of give an update on this and kind of tell you why we're back here today and what we're looking for from you today. So quickly, just go over the project information, the project site. It's approximately an 8-acre site. The original request was for a master plan and zoning map, and then we had an associated tentative map and conditional use permit and minor deviation associated with that. Tonight, we'll specifically be talking about that zoning map, and I'll go in a couple slides from now, I'll go a little bit more detail of why we're here. So just where the site is located, this is Damani Ranch High School. So we're just east of Damani Ranch High School. For reference of cases we've seen before, this is the Canyons planned unit development. We recently just saw the Canyons Edge development. That was the 8 homes on the 80 acres. And then tonight we're looking at DP2 again that you had seen before. Quickly go off, this is the stub out of Tellurium Mine Road. That will be the access up, potential access up to the site, and the utilities are stubbed at that point. This is the existing water tank that sits just above the Palisades development. And as we all know, the big D on the hill for Damani Ranch High. So quickly to run through our timeline and our process here. So we were back before you on August 3rd. We came for that zoning map amendment and the master plan amendment and an approval of a tentative map, a conditional use permit that was for hillside development, cuts and fills, and cluster development. And then we did that unique minor deviation. Usually that's done at a staff level, but we brought that forward. That was to modify our hillside development of standards for density. At that time, the zoning you were looking at was UT 40 to single family 8. That's unincorporated transitional 1 unit per 40 acres to single family 8 units per acre allowed. That did then, your recommendation was for approval of both the zoning map master plan amendment, and you approved the other associated requests at that time. It did go, that master plan and zoning map went to city council. They were both approved at that point in time. There were 6 in favor vote and 1 against. And there was a record discrepancy there. So within that came forward that zoning had actually been changed, that weren't reflected on our current records, and that zoning had been changed, an ordinance done that changed that from that UT 40, 1 unit per 40 acres, that they can now do 1 unit per 5 acres, and then going to our single family 8 to 1 units per acre. We don't see, staff analyze this, there's no really difference on development patterns. They'd both be able to develop out what is under that. But we did want to bring it back so that we have a clear record on this, that we have transparency with and transparency with the public, and we set this record straight as we move forward. We are fast tracking this, so this is being heard tonight. We will hear this at City Council next Wednesday. So we will provide a memo to City Council of your recommendation tonight to them so that they're aware of how it was voted. Once again, there was no substantial change in that analysis, very similar in what would be allowed in both of those. So here's where we are tonight, the Planning Commission recommendation. We are just looking for that recommendation on that zoning map amendment. That master plan was approved, and that will be going on to our regional Planning Commission. Once again, we'll go to October 12th to City Council. And then it should be noted, all these approvals are subject to that conformance review by our Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. So there's still several steps that are moving forward on this. Just quickly look at our graphics. This is our master plan. That's that big overview of what we want to be and what we're doing. It's unincorporated transition. We usually see that when you annex in, they'll bring in zoning that is comparable. We have a comparable chart to the county zoning at this time, and this is comparable. What they are proposing to do is go to that single family. This is comparable to what we're seeing in that surrounding neighborhood, in that Palisades neighborhood, and consistent with that. So here's where we're kind of changed from what you originally saw. So we're unincorporated transition 5, and that zoning request at that time that we uncovered also has our water tower, which is the PF, that's public facilities. That is also zoned public facilities, where that was UT on the records we originally brought forward with you. What they'll be looking is going to that SF 8 dwelling units per acre, and which is consistent. We're seeing SF3 down below, but they are using a clustering pattern, so you're seeing those large areas of open space. So with both projects and what you saw on that tentative map, we're getting about 1 unit per half acre. And this is just outlining where that current city boundary is. Staff could make all the findings as was before. As I mentioned, it was a very similar analysis. And with that, I'll leave you with a recommended motion. Thank you. Available for questions as needed.
Thank you, Brooke. Appreciate that. Kick it
Mr.
down.
Chairman,
Yes.
sorry, John Krompatik, I just wanted to announce that I am here. I submitted to the secretary a presentation. I have nothing to comment on, but you asked for an applicant presentation. And when whoever's running the machine, the show tonight, the panelist switchover didn't occur when you asked the question. So I was sort of stuck.
Sure. Did you want to make a presentation, John?
Nothing at all. Brooke Oswald did a fine job, and you know all the details. So if you have any questions for me, just wanted to stand by. If you needed a presentation, I'm available. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for being there with us. All right. We're going to kick it down to commissioners for disclosures. Commissioner Johnson, why don't you kick it off virtually, buddy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No disclosures other than having seen this project before.
Commissioner Villanueva?
No disclosures. I'll correct the record later. I was not here at the August 3rd meeting, so I'll have to correct that later. So no disclosures, and I was not present at the August 3rd hearing when this was heard.
Commissioner Munoz, no disclosures.
Commissioner Draculich, no disclosures. Moving on, do we have any public comment for this item, Heather?
We did not receive any correspondence or voicemails, and I have no request to speak forms for this item.
Okay, thank you. All right, commission, questions for the city or the applicant who's virtual? If there are no questions, we can move into discussion. And I'll be ready to take a motion.
Commissioner Munoz, I'm ready to make a motion. Can we get that back up on the screen so I don't get the wording wrong?
Go back to one more.
There you go. Thank you. Again, it's Commissioner Munoz. On the case number LDC 22-00048, DP2 Master Planning and Zoning Map Amendment. Based on compliance with applicable findings, I move to recommend the City Council adopt zoning map amendments, and I can meet all the findings.
All right, we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, I'll second that motion. I can also make all the findings.
Right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay. All right, so we
Thank
have
you,
a vote of
Commissioner.
3-1. Does this pass with this amount of votes?
Yes, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 5.2, case number LDC 23-00008, Armando and Sons Butcher Shop. We have a request for a conditional use permit to allow for packaged alcohol sales to the primary use of a general retail store located within 500 feet of residentially zoned property. And do we have the applicant here to make a presentation? Hey, Garrett.
For the record, Garrett Gordon, pardon my voice. It's been a long day. So, for the record, Garrett Gordon, representing Armando and Sons Butcher Shop. I think you'll be happy to hear this is probably the shortest presentation I've ever done, given how straightforward this application is. I represent Armando Sons Butcher Shop. They're planning to install and operate a butcher shop in Ranchera. We all know where Ranchera PUD is located on the northwest corner of Kitski and Del Monte. You can see here the zoning map, and the reason why we're here tonight is for those properties to the south of Del Monte. In order to have a packaged liquor license, if you're within 500 feet of residentially zoned properties, it requires a conditional use permit. The proposed use is a local butcher shop. Actually, if you've been to Ranchera lately, it is under construction. The butcher shop owners didn't realize, given there's the village well next door, there's Chewy's that has tequila for sale across the plaza. You have Grafted. There's many wine restaurant bars in the area. Didn't realize they actually needed a use permit for packaged alcohol sales. So that's what we're here for tonight. The applicant is the tenant. the Flocini family, who many of you know that name. They've been operating Sierra Meat and Seafood in this town for over 50 years. Again, why we're here is for this radius. You can see it's measured from the front door of the proposed butcher shop, and 500 feet extends south of Del Monte, the two properties that are zoned residential. I thought the staff report did a great job of explaining, given the extensive process that the PUD went through and the uses allowed within it, there are no compatibility problems, no finding problems, and we are in agreement with all conditions of approval. Just a few visuals, nice, clean business. You can see the primary use is selling seafood, selling meats. In the middle, they anticipate a long, nice table where you can pick up a bottle of wine with your steak, a bottle of white wine with your seafood, and maybe even a case of a beer. Again, another visual of what the butcher shop will look like, looking east. And then if you're standing at the front door looking back, there's another rendering. So with that, I think that probably sets a record for me talking. That's it. Appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate it. Now, presentation from the city.
Thank you, and good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Leah Brock, Assistant Planner with the City of Reno Development Services. I'm going to follow up on the applicant's presentation and just give you a little bit more information on the application for the conditional use permit to allow for accessory sale of packaged alcohol. Again, the applicant has requested a conditional use permit to allow for packaged alcohol sales as an accessory to the primary use of a general retail store, which is a butcher shop. The site is located in the existing village of Ranchera, which is within the Ranchera planned unit development. Conditional use permit is required for the sale of packaged alcohol because the site is located within 500 feet of residentially zoned parcels. Key issues related to this request are general code compliance and public safety and welfare. Ranchera is a 141-unit mixed-use PUD with designated land uses. The subject site is located in the South Commercial Land Use Area, and per the Ranchera Handbook, businesses in the South Commercial Area are limited to operation between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., which is something that we have looked at on previous conditional use permits for the sale of packaged alcohol. Surrounding uses include professional office complexes to the north and east. To the west is the club at Ranchera. To the south across Del Monte Lane is a medical office, a religious assembly, and a single-family residence. I just want to reiterate that there is no access to the subject site off of Del Monte Lane, and it has already been screened with the existing mature trees and a berm. In all zoning districts, the sale of packaged alcohol as an accessory use requires a conditional use permit if it's within 500 feet of residentially zoned property. As the applicant explained, it is an allowed use within the PUD, but it is triggered because of that proximity from the front door of the establishment to any residentially zoned parcels. In this particular case, the subject parcel is approximately 300 feet from the nearest residentially zoned parcel. When a conditional use permit is required for the sale of packaged alcohol as an accessory to a general retail use, Reno Municipal Code does require that 10% of the retail floor space be dedicated to fresh or frozen perishable foods. As a butcher shop, the percentage of perishable foods will far exceed the required 10%. I do want to point out that no noted concerns were received from Reno Police Department or Code Enforcement Division in regards to this request. The site is not located in the downtown Safescape area. It is not located in the Safescape buffer area and not in the East 4th Street corridor Safescape buffer area. The applicant did present the project to the Ward 2 Neighborhood Advisory Board on September 20th, 2022. No comments have been received from the public, and no comments were received from the Neighborhood Advisory Board. With the recommended conditions of approval, the conditional use permit appears to meet or exceed code standards and addresses the applicable findings. Therefore, staff recommends approval subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it. All right, we'll kick it down to the commissioners for disclosures. Commissioner Munoz.
Commissioner Munoz, no disclosures.
Commissioner Villanueva, familiar with the site, and I visit there often.
Commissioner Johnson, familiar with the site.
Commissioner Draculich, same disclosures. All right, with that said, any public comment, Heather?
We did not receive any correspondence or voicemails for this item, and I don't have any request to speak forms.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, commissioners, questions for the applicant or the city? If I have no questions, we want to move to discussion. Any comments? Commissioner Villanueva.
So I always look at these applications very fact-based, intensive, because every application is different. So I think the site is appropriate for packaged liquor for several reasons. I'm noting that on the record to just create that distinction. Just because we're approving this one does not mean every other package license that comes forward is going to be approved. This is appropriate for the type of setting it's located in. But I do think a butcher shop with packaged wine and liquor is appropriate given the site. And so I just want to put that on the record.
Thank you. You look like you want to make a motion.
Does anyone else have comments?
Commissioner Johnson, anything you want to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just actually wanted to thank Leah and staff for including in the presentation those items about Safescape and the areas where these are more of an issue. I think we've seen a bunch of them recently. A bunch is probably a little. We've seen several of these recently where we have been in that area. So I appreciated the staff's presentation to make that distinction this evening for that. So that was all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'm happy to make a motion, Vice Chair. Based upon the compliance with applicable findings, I move to approve the request for a conditional use permit subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
We have a motion.
Mr. Johnson, I'll second that, and I can make all the findings.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Good luck. All right, moving on to item 5.3, case number LDC 2300009, the club at Ranchera. The request is for a conditional use permit to allow for packaged alcohol sales accessory to the primary use of a restaurant with alcohol service located within 500 feet of residentially zoned property. And looks like we don't have the applicant for this, and we have the lovely Leah.
That is
Oh,
correct.
is the applicant here? Oh, would you like to make a presentation?
I can say something real quick, yes.
Sure. We'll let you kick it off.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr.
No problem.
Commissioner. My name is Robert Coulard. I'm the General Manager and Chief Operating Officer for Ranchera. Just want to let you know that the Club at Ranchera has been open for about 2 years now. We've got 502 families, which equates to about 1,400 members of the club now. We currently do have a liquor license. What we're looking for is a conditional use permit for alcohol package sales. What that means is we're looking to sell wine to our members at the club. We are currently within that 500-foot limit. And we meet all the conditions for approval, and I'll be here for any questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Leah, your turn now.
All right, sounds good. Again, thank you, members of the commission. For the record, Leah Brock, Assistant Planner with Development Services, City of Reno. I'm going to present a very brief presentation for the Club at Ranchera and a conditional use permit to allow the sale of packaged alcohol as an accessory use to the primary use of a restaurant with alcohol service. The subject parcel is approximately 7.64 acres. The site is located in the Ranchera Planned Unit Development. Conditional use permit is required for the sale of packaged alcohol because the site is located within 500 feet of residentially zoned parcels. Key issues related to this request include general code compliance and public safety and welfare. The subject site is located within the Event Center designated land use within the Ranchera Plan Unit Development. Indoor and outdoor events are both allowed in this area. Hours of operation for outdoor events are restricted to 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday and 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. Events can operate beyond those hours as long as they are held indoors. Surrounding uses include single-family residential to the north, to the west, and to the south. To the east is the village at Ranchera, which was the subject of the previous application. Again, in all zoning districts, the sale of packaged alcohol as an accessory use requires a conditional use permit if it was within 500 feet of a residentially zoned property. In this particular case, the nearest residential parcel is approximately 200 feet from the front door of the establishment. No noted concerns were received from the Reno Police Department or the Code Enforcement Division. Again, this site is not located in the downtown Safescape area, the downtown Safescape buffer area, or the East 4th Street corridor Safescape buffer area. Staff did receive 2 public comments related to this application. One comment was in support of the application and the other comment was neutral because the applicant did not present this application at NAB and they felt that they didn't have enough information to make a recommendation, but they wanted to state that they felt neutral about it. With the recommended conditions of approval, the conditional use permit appears to meet or exceed code standards and addresses the applicable findings. Therefore, staff does recommend approval subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. That concludes my brief presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it. All right, kick it to the commissioners for disclosures. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Johnson, I'm familiar with the site.
Commissioner Villanueva, familiar with the site, and I visit the Ranchera often.
Commissioner Munoz, familiar with the site.
Commissioner Draculich, familiar with the site and read and received that one email. All right, move into public comment. Heather, do we have any public comment or request to speak forms for this item?
We did receive correspondence that was distributed to the commission before tonight's meeting. We did not receive any voicemails, and I don't have any requests to speak forms.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the room want to speak? All right, excellent. We will move to the commissioners for questions of the applicant or the city. Commissioner Villanueva, feel free.
Sorry, no questions. I'll wait till the comment or discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, since we can't see you?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have no questions up here. Anybody want, well, Commissioner Villanueva, go ahead with the discussion.
Thank you. Same comments as prior agenda item. We always look at these items based on a fact-based analysis, and just for purposes of distinction, just because if we approve this one doesn't mean that that's the precedent or the standard. In this particular case, as the applicant, not applicant, but the city staff presented that it is not in the Safescape zone and so on and so forth. It's it's 200 feet from the next residence. But it's not a direct, you can't get there by walking there. There's no direct access. So there's a number of things like that that I just want to put on the record. I do think this is an appropriate place for the packaged liquor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson, any discussion items?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
In the case of LDC 23-9, the club at Ranchera, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all of the findings.
We have a motion.
Commissioner Villanueva, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Good luck with your project. All right. Moving on to item 6, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report. Commissioner Johnson, if you want to update us.
Mr. Chair, I was actually going to throw it back to you since you were at the last meeting.
No,
Commissioner Villanueva, both of you were there.
I'm still a rookie at that. You're the more experienced.
I will say, enjoyed having a few extra new members from the city of Reno sitting on the meeting, brief as it was. The one we had at the end of September really only included a couple of items. One of them was the regional approval of the Canyon's Edge, which was the one I think Brooke mentioned it earlier this evening about those extra 8 units. So it was a master plan conformance review because of the master plan change on that. And then the rest of the project was just, or the rest of the meeting was just looking at the review and update of the regional plan, which they do on an annual basis. So the next meeting for that will be October 27th. So it will be after our next planning commission meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Appreciate it. And before we move on to item 7, I was just going to ask Jason, so we do have to make a correction on the record. Commissioner Villanueva was absent on August 3rd, so we'll need to abstain from the vote on item 4.1. I cover that?
That's correct. Carl, do we need to re-vote on that?
You know, we can put it on the next agenda, just make sure everybody read it and we don't have any corrections. So I think that would be the best procedure.
Okay.
Great, thank you. All right, item number 7, staff announcements. Go ahead, Jason.
Good evening, commissioners. Good to see you all again. As far as updates, our September 21st meeting was canceled, so just as a recap for city council items, Mountain View Estates and the NNMC Northwest Extended Care zoning went to council and were approved. In addition, on the October 12th council meeting, the Title 18 amendment item that your commission reviewed at September 7th will be going forward. And then I wanted to give a heads up to the commission, future agendas, October 19th, it looks like we have 5 items scheduled. And then on the November 2nd agenda, tentatively, we have 2 master plan items. Those are both in the North Valleys. But I just wanted to give you kind of a heads up ahead of time since we need 5 commissioners here. So those are kind of the primary items. Let me know if you have any questions, and good to see you all again.
Thank you, Jason, appreciate it.
Commissioner Villanueva has a question.
Oh, please,
about
go ahead.
That item. Jason, should we have that commissioner, the new commissioner appointed by then, by those?
We're hopeful that will happen. That has to be appointed by city council, so that's going through a process. So.
Okay, so we may or may not have that person. Okay, great.
Yeah, and that's why you'll see staff reach out to see if you can attend or not a meeting, so that we can kind of at least make sure that we have the people available to hear those items. So.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 8, commissioners' suggestions for future agenda items for possible action. I see a head shake from Commissioner Johnson. Lots of head shakes. Beautiful. All right, moving on to item 9, public comment. Heather, do we have any public comment items?
No correspondence, no voicemails, and no request to speak forms for this item.
Okay, thank you. I thought maybe we'd hear from the folks in the back, but thank you for attending tonight, regardless. And moving on to item 10 for adjournment.
Commissioner Munoz, I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.